Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back. For those of you joining for the very first time, my name is Mohammed Abbas Merchant. I am a photographer and filmmaker based in Karachi, Pakistan. I've been doing photography for the last 3 years or so professionally, and today I thought I would share with you guys some of the tips that well, not tips, I would say, but some of the things that I've learned in my last 3 years. So before we get into the video, please do drop a subscribe and be sure to ring that notification bell because I've been trying to get back into YouTube for the last year and a half, but I am trying to make this year a little bit different, so I'll be coming out with some more new content, and I'm going to be recurring with a lot of the content that I've already been doing for quite some time at this point. So if you're new here, be sure to check out some of the old content and drop down below what more you would like me to see doing in this upcoming year. So with that said, let's get on to 10 things I've learned in my career as a photographer. So number one, I think this is one of the things that a lot of people don't really think about all that much when they're getting into photography, especially new people who are freelancers like myself, is the mode of payment. So payment is something that obviously a lot of us are not very concerned with when we're starting up because we really want to just build up a clientele or we want to build up our portfolios. But this is something that everyone needs to work on, at least to an extent where they know, okay, these are the types of payment that I'm going to be accepting. I'm either going to be accepting cash, check, or even bank transfer if you have a bank account. So not only will this help you legitimize your business to a certain extent, but it's also going to allow your clients to take you a little more seriously as well. Because if you're prompt about your payments and you know how much you need, it's going to not only just put you a step above a lot of others who may not have thought this through, but it's going to be safer for you in the long run as well. So one thing that I do with my clients is I already discuss with them prior how much I'm going to be paid, how soon I'm going to be paid, and what that mode of payment is going to be, as previously discussed. So going about that, you can either have a 50% before the shoot, you can have then the 50% after the shoot is concluded, or you can have the entirety beforehand if it's not too large of an amount and you have a client who is trustworthy enough or they trust you enough to get the work done within said amount or within the set time frame XYZ. So it may not seem like a very big thing, but it really makes a big difference, and I think that's something that a lot of beginners really should think about moving forward. Number two, portfolio. Now, at a certain point, you're going to have to figure out what sort of photography you really want to focus on. But if you're just starting out, that really shouldn't be a concern of yours. Now, in 3 years that I've been doing photography, I've done a little bit of everything at this point. I've done food, I've done product, I've done fashion, I've done weddings, I've done lifestyle, I've done fashion. I might have said that already. I don't know. Anyways, at this point in time, you shouldn't really be focused on trying to go for that one niche, and it's very possible that the niche you're trying to get into is already something that is either well established or isn't that much already. So either you're gonna have a very tough time breaking into that market or you're gonna have a tough time trying to establish that market. So rather than doing that, spend this time when you're just learning to hone your craft and figure out what you're good at and what you're good at better than anyone else. Because if you have that and you can use that to market yourself, trust me, the clients will come and the money will keep flowing in. This sort of ties back into point number one as well, where I mentioned that you need to have discussed your mode of payment. So point number three is discussing the number of pictures that you're going to be providing to your client. Now, this works differently in different circumstances. For example, if you're doing an event coverage, you're likely to end up giving a majority, if not most of your pictures. Whereas, for example, let's say a portfolio shoot, you might be only giving a certain amount of pictures. So it's very important to discuss beforehand how many pictures the client is expecting and how much work you actually have to end up doing. Number four, I'm not really sure how much of this sort of culture is in countries abroad, let's say like the US or the UK, maybe even Finland. But it's very rampant here in Pakistan, and it's what we call the exposure culture. It's essentially when you have photographers or even videographers often working for free and saying, hey, listen, we can't really pay you right now, but we'll tag you when we post the work and you'll get exposure from our pages. Now, more often than not, a lot of these sorts of clients don't really get you much of anything. And it's honestly a big downside from being in a country like Pakistan where clients are very difficult to come by for one, and then finding clients who aren't stingy is even bigger of a problem. But it's something that eventually with time gets a little bit better. But the question remains, should you take on clients like these or not? Now, I'm gonna give you two sides of this, right? So when I started out, I had to do a lot of my work for exposure, which essentially meant free, either for free or next to nothing. Now, although these people say that you're going to get exposure, more often than not, you're not really going to get any exposure from their pages. But what this does give you, it gives you an opportunity to not only hone your craft a lot further, it gives you more stuff to add to your portfolio down the line. Now, when you're starting out, as much as this sucks, you might have to do a lot of work for exposure. Now, I'm not trying to encourage this sort of behavior. If you can afford to get a photographer, pay them. I don't care. If you can't afford one, don't try to get someone. It's as simple as that. You've gotten by on taking pictures on your phone for most of your life, do it. Do not try to hustle some kid who is trying to get into this game. Pay them, please. But if you are that kid, don't worry about it. Trust me. It's going to be rough at first and it's going to feel horrible because you're going to be spending time, effort, and probably money to get back and forth or even to rent equipment. But it will get better. You're going to learn your craft, you're going to get better, and you're going to eventually be able to use that work to get something else down the line. Trust me. It's going to be tough, but you're going to get there. Okay. Number 5. Marketing. Now, marketing is an aspect of photography that I never really thought about up until even 6 months ago. So, marketing for a lot of people means money. Now, that's not necessarily the case, and let me explain. So, starting out photography, for the longest time, all I was relying on were hashtags, and for the first year, that more or less worked because at that point, Instagram kind of focused a lot on hashtags. But in the last year or two, I would even say that they've really changed up their model. So what happened at that point is that I realized I needed to adapt. So I started sending my posts to friends and asking them either endorse them, share them on stories, or even just drop a like and a comment, because honestly, a lot of people don't realize this, but those little things end up making a huge difference. So if you're someone who's not a photographer, but you're just tuning in because you enjoy photography as a practice or as an art form, if you have a friend who you know is a photographer or an artist, just any sort of creator on Instagram, drop a like, comment, even save some of their posts, because honestly it makes a huge difference, especially in today's day and age. Numbers matter a lot, whether anyone tells you on the internet or not. Numbers make a difference, not the difference that you and I might be thinking of in a lot of different ways, and I will come back to that point. But especially to smaller creators, it really means a lot, and that's even coming from me, who's been doing this for over 3 years at this point. So if you can do just something that hardly takes 60 seconds, drop a like and a comment on your friend's work. Honestly, it'll really make their day. So often doing these things, sharing their work on stories, it really makes a difference. It shows the algorithm that people want to view more of this content. They're going to promote it even further. The more the content is seen, the more their work is going to get exposure, and the more they're going to grow. Number 6, collaborations. Now, collaborating for a lot of different people might mean a lot of different things, but for me, it's you're providing me with something, I'm providing you with something, we're all happy. Now, let me explain. So that might mean that a model is approaching me with a concept for a shoot. That can be the location, the outfit, the makeup, XYZ, stuff like that. And I'm providing them with photography. So they get photographs for their portfolio, and I get some work to experiment with. Now, oftentimes that might not be enough for certain people. So there's a lot of different things you can also add to the aspect as well. They can pay for gas, they can pay for the makeup artist, or they can pay for lunch, XYZ, stuff like that, right? But one thing that you just need to keep in mind is that it should always be 50-50. You're contributing just as much as they are, so that it's not unfair to any one party. And I would really urge you guys to try this out as much as possible, because not only is this a good way to just further build up your portfolio, which is pretty much everything that this has been about so far, but it's also a good way to build up friendships and build up potential people you can work with down the line as well, because there will be instances where you feel as if you can't afford a model, or you can't afford to properly hire out a brand for their clothes, or even a makeup artist. So it's good to have people you've worked with in the past or collaborated with who you can rely on for opportunities such as this, because you never know, right? When they're stuck and they might need someone, they might call on you. So do these sorts of things where you can call in favors like this down the line, because it's always good to help each other out. We're all at the end of the day in the same field roughly, and honestly it's just good to make friends. And I've found that this is one of the best ways to go about it. So collaborate with others, man. Number 7. Now this is something that honestly took me a long time to be able to be comfortable with, and it's something that I'm gonna be honest with, I'm not 100% with even right now, but I'm hoping by putting this out onto the internet and by putting this message out into the universe, it might help me rationalize it a little bit for myself as well. So number 7 is social media numbers don't matter, your work does. Let me explain. For the longest time, I've been in this sort of rat race where I was like, okay, I need to have this many followers, or this many likes on my post, or this many comments. And I still do that to an extent, but I've also rationalized it to a point where I realize if my work speaks for itself, it doesn't matter if I don't get a certain number of likes, because although clients in today's day and age focus a lot on your numbers to see your worth, that's not always the case. Oftentimes you're going to run into clients who are willing to give you a shot just based on how good your work is. And honestly, that should be the practice going forward for a lot of people. And if you're a possible client who is willing to hire someone out there, if you're watching this right now, look at their work, not the numbers, because honestly, it's very hard to build up an organic following in today's day and age, especially for photographers and other artists, because Instagram has become so bloated and it's favoring content that isn't art anymore. It's very hard to build up that sort of audience. So focus on the work. The numbers will follow, and even if they don't, that's okay. Focus on you right now, because that's what's more important. The numbers will follow one way or the other. That's what I'm trying to tell myself too. If I'm telling myself, then I'm telling you too. We're going to focus on the work, we're going to get better, and we're going to move forward. One way or the other, it'll all work out. Number 8. You need to find a professional place to display your work, not social media. Now, what that means and can mean for a lot of people is a website. Now, the reason behind that is very simple, to be quite honest. I've done a lot of work in my time as a photographer, a lot of work that might not be relatable to clients who are trying to go over my Instagram, for example. I've done weddings, I've done food, I've done portfolio, I've done product. Let's say someone is trying to look for one specific genre, but they can't find too much of it because there's so much to go over on my social media. Having a website, especially with specific pages dedicated to work that they want to see, is a good place and a good way for you to not only appear more professional, but for people to be more aware of the kind of work that you've done and your capabilities for what they're looking for, which will not only make their lives easier, it'll make your life easier by getting that client that you may have lost on otherwise. It's a bit tough and it's a bit tedious to set up a website, especially regularly updating it and making sure that all of your work is there, especially your best work. It pays off in the long run. It's a practice that I'm trying to get into as well, but I'm pretty lazy about it too. So if you're taking this tip to heart and you start doing it, drop me a comment down below, because it might really help me get my act together too. Number 9. This is something that I've previously gone over earlier in the video as well, but try every bit of photography that you can, because you're not really going to know what you're really good at until you've tried a little bit of everything. And honestly, it's going to be exhausting at times. At times it's not really going to be the best thing that you can produce, but at least you'll know. And because the market is always ever changing and it's evolving, it's good to have more than one type of skill set available to you, because what if something doesn't work out? What if the world closes down because of a pandemic? If you're a wedding photographer, you're kind of screwed, mate. So it's good to have more than one type of photography in your back pocket, because not only does it allow for you to grow as a photographer and learn different types of crafts, it allows you to branch out, it allows for you to have more than one form of revenue constantly coming in, because oftentimes I've seen this with other photographers, if they try and focus in on just one type of photography, they're very limited in the long run. And unless you're in a place that constantly is getting you work for that one type of photography, you're gonna struggle a little bit. So try and do every bit of photography as you can, and find your niche. Definitely find your niche. That's not what I'm saying, that don't find your niche and find something that you're exceptional at. Find that niche, but then also be able to do at least 2 to 3 other types of photography well enough that you can still continue to earn from it. Number 10. Oh wow. I honestly did not think I was going to get to this point in the video, but I am glad we've made it so far. Number 10 is be willing to ask for how much money you think you actually deserve. Now, this is something that a lot of photographers struggle with, and even I continue to struggle with, is asking for how much money I think I deserve for not only my time but for my work. Now, let me break this down in a way that everyone may understand, even people who aren't part of the art fraternity. Art is an ever-changing and ever-evolving form of creation, I'd say. And if you're paying a certain photographer, let's say $100 to do a certain amount of photographs for you, you're not just paying them for their photographs themselves, you're paying them for their time, for their effort, for their travel, for their food, and most of all, you're paying them for the years of experience that they've accumulated up to that point, which has allowed them to take those $100 and provide you with what they are. It often bothers me when people are willing to pay, let's say, exorbitant amounts of money for fancy food, but not to artists, because it's just art, right? It's just a painting, anyone can do it. Not really. It reminds me of a quote from the movie Ratatouille. Anyone can cook. Now, the food critic in the film, Anton Ego, he despises that quote, and he really is bothered by it, because he doesn't agree. Not anyone can cook. The thing that he missed out on, and a lot of people similarly miss out on, is that yes, anyone can do art, but not everyone can be great at it. So if you have someone who is brilliant at what they're doing, especially if they are someone who is just starting out, you know that they're struggling, give them that extra push. Don't be stingy with what you're paying them. Give them a little more than what they're asking for. Be willing to pay that much, because although it may seem like a big deal for you, it's going to be an even bigger deal to them, because it's going to not only just give them that extra push that they deserve, it's going to give them that sense of motivation and confidence in their work to be able to continue doing this. You would not believe the amount of photographers I've spoken to in Karachi who have just given up on photography because they couldn't earn from it, or because their family didn't see any worth in something that they were hardly earning from, but they were putting in hours and hours of time into. Photography is an art that is deeply underappreciated in Pakistan, and if you're someone who is going to eventually have to hire a photographer for anything down the line, whether it's for your wedding, whether it's for your business, whether it's for your home, anything that you are going to hire a photographer or any other artist for, please be willing to give us either what we're asking for or something as close to it as possible, because it basically is everything for us, not just our livelihoods. Wow, that is a very sad note to end this on. But thank you so much for tuning into this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this new format of video. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time now, but I haven't been able to. If you're someone who is just tuning in for the very first time, please be sure to check out my other types of content, because that's usually the type of stuff that I put out. Check out my podcast, Product Manchala. It's available wherever you can get your podcast from. I'm also going to be trying content similar to this down the line. I like making list videos. I don't know, this is my first list video. Tell me if you guys like it. I don't know if I like it. I don't know. But yeah, if you liked this video, please be sure to drop a like. It really helps with the algorithm. If you're not subscribed already, subscribe, because I make a lot of, I want to say, really nice short films, but I'm often just plagued by self-doubt. That's not what this video is about. That's not what it's about. Okay, no. Okay, I make good short films and I make people cry. Yes, that is what I do. That should be my USP. I make good short films and make people cry. Anyways, please be sure to subscribe, turn on that bell icon, because I'm trying to get consistent with YouTube. I've been saying this for the last year and a half. I don't know. I promise. This year is going to be different. We're going to make more art. We're going to make different types of art, and we're going to be consistent. We are doing this. My goal for this year, I'm putting this out into the universe and onto the internet. We are getting to at least 1,000 subscribers. I'm saying this now, and I'm going to make sure that you guys hold me accountable to this. We are getting to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for joining in, and take care, everybody. Bye-bye.